Welcome to the Personal Brand Elevator. It's a podcast with me, Petty Morgan, photographer, serial rebrander, entrepreneur and online business queen. We're here to talk strategies and tactics for personal brand elevation in an online remote world. If you provide services online, then you are your brand. So come on, jump in the elevator with me because we are going up. How bouncy sales pages can seriously affect your brand success and what to do about it. As an online service provider or digital product creator, I know that you are constantly working on getting people to your website, whether it be a sales page for a product or service you offer, a lead magnet page to gather leads for your email list, a blog post you just put up, or even just a contact page. You put the time and effort into designing these pages with conversion in mind, making it easy for your potential customers to work with you and experience what you have to offer. You've put a heap of effort into your messaging, working out what to put at the top of the page to put them in, and everything, how it looks, how it feels, etc. But is a bad bounce rate negatively affecting your conversions? How would you actually know if you had a bad bounce rate, and how can you improve it? And how will you know it's actually making a difference to your conversions and ultimately your sales? So let's start with the basics. What is a bounce rate? Well, let's say 10 people follow a link in your Instagram bio, which is a classic way we get our Instagram followers over to our websites and sign up pages. Hey babes, follow the link in my bio to get my free blah blah. And of those 10 people, maybe only one person finds the page of enough interest to scroll down, to read more, or click on the call to action button that you have placed, or click a link elsewhere on the page and look around your site. The other 9, they didn't interact at all. They've left without doing anything that suggests that they were interested in what they saw. That means for this particular page, at this particular time of the day, it has a 90% bounce rate. So 90% of your visitors are just coming and going as quickly as they arrived. If you had a 10% bounce rate, that means that 90% of your visitors are reading or engaging somehow with your content. So that at least gives you a chance to convert them into raving fans, right? And buyers. Obviously, a 90% bounce rate isn't great for conversions, as these people are not doing what you want them to do, whether that be read and comment, or share your blog post, or sign up to your program, or something else. Whatever you've put all that effort into creating and luring them in, they didn't bite. It's also not great for SEO, a bad bounce rate, search engine optimization. Google sees that these people are leaving quickly, and it makes the assumption that it's not quality content or that the visitors aren't getting what they came for. So it won't be ranked a really great piece of content, and therefore it's less likely to rank highly in the Google search results, i.e. at least display on the first page when somebody searches for content like that. There are many reasons and factors for a poor bounce rate, like visitors not getting what they came for is one, low quality content, or maybe it's just unclear what the visitor is expected to do once they get to that page. Of all the reasons, however, they all depend on one condition being met first, and that is that the web page loads in the first place. And the time it takes to load is actually the critical measure here. Social media traffic is more likely to bounce than other types of traffic due to our increasingly shortened attention span. These days we have an incredibly short attention span, and that has been actually made much worse by the internet and our give it to me right now culture. Stats actually show that 3 seconds is about as long as we will wait for a page to load before we bounce on out of there. That is why Google themselves aim to load their results pages within 1 second, because they discovered that with just half a second increase in page load time, they experienced a 20% decrease in ad revenue. We don't have the attention span to wait for pages to load, and there's a good reason for that. Remember the last time you were scrolling through Instagram or Facebook? off for a scroll. Well, it takes a lot to get you to click on a link and leave that scroll, doesn't it? You get into this kind of flow state, which can be quite satisfying. And that is how they intend it to be on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, etc. But if someone has piqued your interest enough, all right, well, you might actually click the link that they've posted for you to follow. But you are on a scroll and you are not intending on leaving that pathway anytime soon. You might just want to drop in to see if it's worth your time to look at this link, but you don't want to completely stop what you're doing and concentrate on something else altogether. So if the page that link links to doesn't load instantaneously, you're gone. You just bounce off. Goodbye, back to your scroll, right? Which was much more fun. So for that reason, page load time is the most impactful factor that you need to improve on your website or web page or sales page if you are luring people to your den/website from their social media scrolling. If the page doesn't load within 3 seconds, you will actually likely lose most of your visitors before you've even had a chance to show them what they came for. Worse, a large percentage of those people won't ever come back because they will remember that you stole 2 seconds of their scrolling time, and they will feel so burned by this that they'll remember the next time you invite them to follow a link. So don't waste all of that effort that you put into getting them to click through in the first place. Get those pages loading as fast as you can for them. So that's what we're going to address today. Improving your page load speeds. We will uncover how you can actually find out what your bounce rate is, and if a page is loading slowly, I'm doing little quotation marks here, then we will talk about the most impactful changes that you can make to improve your page speed. So, and this is particularly for sales pages. You actually might be savvy enough to always check your links before you post on social media and after you post it. So you check that it loads the right page, right? Don't you? The page speed that you experience then isn't always an accurate measure of how long it actually takes to load for your audience. And that's because you might be on your home or office Wi-Fi network, which has probably pretty good speeds, and you're loading a page that you've already looked at. So your browser has had an opportunity to cache the images and other content on that page so that it loads them faster the next time you visit it. So it stores a wee copy of those images for later. But not all of your website visitors are actually opening the links you post from a fast network. They could actually be on a bus or in a cafe or somewhere else that they can only get maybe 3G on their mobiles. So instantly the page takes longer to load. It's also likely that they haven't visited the page before. So their web browser must load everything on that page for the very first time. So if you really wanted to check your accurate page load speed, you could switch to your mobile network on your phone and open the link in a browser that you don't usually use in a private browser window. Just don't judge your page load speeds based on a quick check under normal circumstances for you. Because Google does value fast loading pages, they actually do provide a page speed measuring tool, which I will link to in the show notes. You can just type in your URL for that page and Google will load it up, and it'll let you know how much time it took to load, plus a heap of other quite possibly useful stats and suggestions for improvement. You can see how fast it loads both on a mobile browser and a desktop browser. But before you go and test a page with this tool, particularly your home page or a long form sales page, please don't freak out. If some crazy high page load speed comes out, don't beat yourself up and freak out. We can fix this. Because the problem with sales pages in particular is that we like to have lots of images on them. Especially if you're selling a digital product, it makes really good sense to show previews of your product, show screenshots and mock-ups and maybe even GIFs like I do. But all these images do take time to load, especially if they're not right-sized, optimized, lazy loaded and cached. If that sounds like complete technical gobbledygook to you, I totally get it. Don't be afraid. That's why I'm going to break it down into some way more simple explanations that you can actually run with and go and make some improvements to your page load speed today. So, firstly, Optimizing your images. In short, it's important to use the right type of image, to upload it with the same dimensions as it is displayed on the page, and to compress it if possible. The two image types we typically work with on web pages are PNG files, that's PNG files, and JPEG files, or JPEG or JPG. PNGs are typically larger in file size than JPEGs, so JPEGs are preferable to use on your website, and they load faster on the page. As a rule of thumb, you should use compressed or optimized JPEG files unless you would like to use an image with a transparent background, which can add a little bit of fancy pro to your page, like, you know, your headshot with the background transparent and your head kind of displays in front of other elements on the page. That's pretty fancy. Or a fancy squiggle, or a text heading with a super custom font, or even your website logo. Everything else, photos, banners, hero images, can be JPEGs. If you're using something like Canva, you have the option of saving as either. So that is the file type covered. The next is image dimension. Well, you should always choose to upload an image with the dimensions that will be used to display it on a page. I see this all the time with profile images. So here is the author or instructor bio, and there's a 300 by 300 pixel bio picture there, just a little one. But it's been shrunk down by the web page from 2,500 pixels by 2,500 pixels, which, as you can imagine, is quite a lot bigger in file size. You can see that this is happening by right-clicking on the little image and opening it in a new tab. And if the image comes up huge, or just even bigger than what it was on the web page, then it's actually been uploaded in the wrong size, in too big a size. So resize the image if you can, so that you're not unnecessarily adding large image files to a page when it isn't needed. Remember that your visitors need to download all of these images to view them, so the smaller they are, the better. So right size your images. Then image compression. Basically, image compression is making the image file as small in file size as possible without losing too much image quality, like pixelization and fuzziness. Some content management systems, aka CMSs, optimize or compress the images when you upload them automatically, but some don't, many don't. So you can install plugins that do this, like Smush on WordPress, or you can compress them yourself before uploading them with tools like JPEG Mini, it's an app, or tinyjpeg.com, which does both JPEGs and PNGs, and I'll link to these in the show notes as well. Compressing an image might actually save you quite a fair bit in file sizes, especially if you have a lot of images on that page. Next, consider lazy loading your images, and what that means is that the images are only loaded if and when your visitor scrolls to that part of the page. This can make quite a big difference, the amount of time it takes to load the page in the first time. So it delivers the visible part of the page when they open up that web page as quickly as possible, and really they can only see the very, very top part, which is called above the fold. So it loads that quickly, and the rest just kind of waits for them to scroll on. You can just switch lazy loading on dependent on your CMS. With WordPress, you can do this with Jetpack, which is quite a common plugin, which also handles caching. And caching is when your images are preloaded onto a separate fast server that's probably part of a network of servers. So the server used to display the image will be the fastest for your visitor. For example, if I'm looking at your website from New Zealand, but you're in Europe, then if your images are cached, the server that delivers to me your delicious images is probably somewhere closer to me, if not in my country, and this just means that they will load faster than it would if it had to load from somewhere in Europe. Okay, so let's recap. Hopefully I simplified that as much as possible. Use the right file type for images. JPEG, unless you have transparency for that fancy pro look, in which case you use PNG. Right size your images. Upload your images in the dimensions that they will be displayed on the page. Compress or optimize your images. Consider turning on lazy loading if you have a long sales page, especially with lots of images, and utilize image caching if you can. So that is that for this episode. Oh my gosh, I know if this is all new terminology for you, you're probably feeling exhausted. That's why I kept this short. This is a big topic. This is only one tiny part of that topic, but it's the most impactful you can make if you have social media traffic and you are directing them to sales pages with lots of images. You might be feeling exhausted. It's okay. Just keep this info in your back pocket and know that it's a tool that you can use if you need, particularly if you notice that you have a poor bounce rate, which a slow page load could be contributing to. Thanks for jumping in the personal brand elevator with me. That's the end of this episode, but please subscribe to hear more and leave me a rating, as not only does it help others to discover this podcast, but it strokes my ego. Well, that's if it's a good rating. So yeah, okay. I'll read the bad ones too, I promise. Bye!